My pan is smoking hot, and that's exactly what you want when you're cooking. Maybe not quite this hot, but at least it's going to make the chicken taste really good this morning. A good one to you. I am Tracy Miller in the kitchen today making some dinner. I thought we would make chicken today, so what we're going to do is get the really thin fillets of chicken. So this is the chicken breast that has been kind of filleted really thin. So check that out. That means it's going to cook fast. You're going to have awesome portion control, and my favorite thing is it's going to cook fast. So what I've done today is I've made an herb mixture, and this is what I do whenever I'm cooking at all, actually, because you want to have some great spices. Oh yeah, that is what a hot pan is all about. That's exactly what you want it to sound like. So we are going to season both sides of our chicken. And what I've done today with my herb mixture is I made a dried thyme, salt and pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. So that's just going to give it a ton of flavor. And then I'm going to make sure I cover all of my protein on both sides with that herb mixture. Now, a lot of times when you're cooking, you're like, oh, I'm going to have a little thyme. I'll just put a little bit on. No way. See the coverage that those spices have right there? That is what's going to give you a ton of flavor. So make sure when you are covering your veggies or your chicken that you are really covering it with that spice mixture. So like I said before, whenever I'm cooking, I like to make my little mixture for whatever the meal is. I bought these at Costco. They're so handy dandy. I did salt and pepper, dried thyme, and garlic powder. A lot of times I'll do salt and pepper, dried parsley, and garlic powder, and that's really kind of my go-to for everything. But today we are going to make roasted chicken, kale, and mushrooms. And what goes really well with mushrooms is thyme. So I decided that is how we are going to play this game. I've got my kale, which, if I can brag for a moment, is from my garden. It is cooking in olive oil with a little bit of onion, and it's actually pretty much done. I just wanted it to get wilted a little bit so that we had some greens on the plate. So I'm just going to put that over on the side. It'll be the base for our dinner tonight. It'll give us a lot of those leafy greens that we really want and need to maintain a healthy diet, and also to fill you up, because leafy greens fill you up quite a bit. So we're going to put those on the base. I'm going to crank the heat up a little bit in my nonstick pan, and then I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there. I'm doing that because I want it nice and warm for my mushrooms. And I lucked out at the grocery store with portobello mushrooms on sale. But what happens when you get them pre-cut already is they have the ribs in here. Now, the ribs are packed with flavor, but they make your dish kind of ugly, I guess, for lack of a better word, for lack of a more eloquent word this morning. So I just cut those off, and then I chop up my mushrooms kind of small so they cook pretty fast. And I'm going to put them in my pan, which has olive oil in it, and it's already nice and warm. I've got some button mushrooms this morning as well. So I'm just going to chop those mushrooms, and what I'm going to do is make sure the mushrooms are all the same size, because when you're cooking, you want everything to be just about the same size so that it cooks at the same rate. My chicken on one side is nice and done, and it's got little brown marks, so I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to crank it up a little bit too, because we only have a little bit more time to finish this up. So here we go. We've got our mushrooms in here, a few more button mushrooms, and since I got these little cutie pies, like they're so little, I got those at the grocery store. I'm just going to cut them in half so they're about the same size as my portobello mushrooms. I'm going to let those simmer and cook. And you kind of want a high heat on those so they get a nice sear. And once they get that sear, then we're just going to stir them around. They get a few brown bits on the bottom because I also cooked the kale and the onion in that pan. So there's a little bit of stuff there on the bottom of the pan. So what I'm going to do is deglaze the pan, and I am going to use sherry cooking wine. This is the most delicious stuff you can possibly imagine when you are cooking mushrooms. So as those mushrooms start to kind of crank up a little bit and get that nice sear, I'll flip them over, and then I will deglaze the pan with the sherry wine. And that is just going to give it a really nice, robust flavor. I'm also going to add a teeny tiny bit of butter to my dish today because butter is going to give you the fat that you kind of want and need as you're eating so many vegetables. So we'll put a pat of butter in there. We're going to let those really absorb the flavor. I'm going to season them nicely, and I'm going to do that with my thyme mixture because thyme and mushrooms are really a match made in heaven. We're going to let the chicken continue to cook. It still needs to cook just a little bit longer, and it's getting that nice flavor. And we are going to pile everything up on top of the kale. So let's deglaze our pan. See how nice that's looking now? They're getting some good color. We're going to deglaze the pan really quickly with our sherry vinegar. That's going to give us a little bit of a sauce. We're going to put our chicken right on top of our kale, and then we are going to finish it all off with those lovely mushrooms. And there you go, a super quick, healthy, delicious dinner that you can make with 2 pots in about, 10 minutes or so. If you'd like that recipe, log on to my website, shoot me an email, and I will type it up for you, colorfulcooking.com.